Okay, now that your straps are sewn, you want to make sure that you trim all of your threads to make your project look more professional. And then the other thing we're going to do is we need to reduce the bulk of the fabric because we're going to be flipping it and we don't want all of this to have to fit into this space. So what you're going to do is we're going to go and on this side that we have sewn, the short end, we're going to cut this one diagonally. So I'm going to cut diagonally. We want to make sure that we leave a little space between the stitching line and the cut line. And then I want to cut, I'm going to trim just some of this seam allowance down, just again on that short side. So I'm going to repeat that for each of the straps. Okay, so now I have each of the 3 straps trimmed at the corners and trim that short edge. Remember, the opposite sides, we're only trimming the threads. We're not going to be cutting the corners or anything like that. So now we need to turn it so that our fabric is right side out. So there's 2 different ways depending on what tool you are using. So I'll show you kind of both ways. One way is if you take this and you turn in the side that has the stitching, and kind of like the base, and we just make a little pocket for a pencil or a dowel to go through. Then I take my dowel and I'm going to then slide the fabric up over the dowel. And I'm just kind of pulling at the 2 sides so that it slips over the dowel. Okay, once I have that fabric, sometimes I like to kind of push out when I have a tool in there just to help me get those corners out a little bit. And then I'm going to pinch this fabric. I'll take my dowel out, and then all I have to do is just pull my fabric down so it turns itself. Okay, another way is you could take this purple tool and I'm just going to slip it down inside my tube of fabric, and I'm going to push it all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm going to take my stick and I'm just going to push it through, and then once I see it come out the top, I'm going to hold the fabric and then I'm going to pull the purple tube down, and then that turns my fabric. Again, while my stick is in there, I like to just kind of use it to get some of my corners pushed out a little bit more. Another thing that you can do to get your corners out is I can take a straight pin and I can just go and pick at the corners and tug at them to get them out completely. Okay, now that I have my 3 straps turned, I need to press them. So the trick about pressing is, or the key I should say, is we want to have that seam on the edge. So sometimes what I do is I kind of go and pinch that seam and then pull it off to the edge as I'm going through and ironing so that I can have a nice flat strap. The other thing is you might want to use a little bit of water to help press that fabric down and get a nice crisp strap. So I'm going to go ahead and press all 3 of my straps. Okay, so I now have my 3 pressed straps.